This is the Stone Age. If you're picturing a bunch of angry cavemen beating each other up or running away from giant dinosaurs, you're absolutely right. Not really, that's very stupid, but to actually get why you gotta go back. No, like way back. Perfect. So the universe is empty, but then suddenly Big Bang and we have galaxies or giant space mountains with stars and planets and oh crap, one of them just got hit by a giant space shock which became the moon, but then some time passes and this random flaming planet isn't flaming anymore because it's got an ocean now. Wait, how did it get an ocean? I don't know, volcano speed I'll guess or something, but anyways, now we have plants and animals and stuff, but they can only live in water cause it's way too hot outside. Wait, never mind, cause you have blankets, so there's life on land now, mostly plants and small reptiles which then got bigger and bigger until... So, another space shock just hit and everything's kinda dead now. Oh wait, never mind, these guys survived. They're called the mammals. They have live babies and fur, walk on 2 feet. Oh shit, that's a huge... Okay, not really. It's actually called Homo habilis if you're a nerd, but I prefer the hairy little small bay monkey that happens to kinda almost look like a human. So these guys spawned in Eastern Africa and were probably the first members of the Homo genus, meaning they're basically the oldest human ancestors. Okay, cool, so like what did they do? Sit around old ages banging rocks together? Yes. Wait, really? Yeah, so basically what they did is they used the revolutionary technique in which you take two medium-sized rocks and smash them against one another as hard as you can until you chip off smaller stones, which you can use for... Dude, I know what banging two rocks together means, but... Is this actually what they did? I mean, I said it as a joke, like, yeah bro, this is the Stone Age. I mean, it's literally in the name. Anyway, so they probably used these basic tools for cutting, digging, and also breaking bones to get some dark elixir. Oh crap, so they were at the top of the food chain already? Well, if the top of the food chain means eating tasteless plants and scarce remains of scavenged carcasses, they absolutely were. Wait, what? That's lame as fuck. And if you wanna talk about predators, you had the saber-toothed tigers with built-in chef knives perfect for turning you into a 5-star meal. Then there were giant hyenas with huge chests made specifically for, you guessed it, eating your bones. You also had lions, leopards, eagles, even a 1,000-kilo crocodile that camped in lakes waiting for it to get thirsty, all against a kid-sized monkey with a stone-sized rock who hides away in trees when he feels lightly threatened. So yeah, they were pretty lame, but don't worry, cause a new species just dropped and it's called Homo erectus. No, but actually, who comes up with these names, bro? So these guys are much taller, with bigger brains and also looked a lot like modern humans. But what's actually impressive about them isn't their physical stats, but their technology. Let me guess, they made some sharper rocks? Exactly, so they made hand axes and picks and cleavers, but their main weapons were actually wooden spears or straight long tree benches with sharpened tips made especially for hunting deer and pigs and goats, but maybe even horses, rhinos, elephants. Wait, what? Elephants? But didn't you just say the human monkeys were basically the biggest losers? Yes, sir. And didn't these red guys come like right after them? Yes, sir. So how the fuck? Yes, sir. Bro, what? So there are many obvious differences between these two species, but the main reason these guys were so much more advanced than these was actually found on the inside. You see, for a long time, human ancestors basically interacted like any other primate. Basic sounds, family, teamwork, and maybe some friends and benefits, but when Homo erectus came along, they were like, okay, so this eating plants thing's fine, right? We can keep it. But why don't we try something new on me, or big boys eat big boy wooden spears now? So what else can we eat? And just like that, they started hunting in big boy groups, using some pretty revolutionary tactics like ambushing prey or chasing it down until it gets tired and can't run anymore. Okay, cool, so they can hunt now, but how did they do against the other, scarier predators? Good question, so by now some of them begin to get replaced by smaller versions, which was great news. But you also had new giant cave bears in Eurasia, which were much bigger than modern day ones and roughly 10 times as scary. So even these brand new pointy sticks were still just not enough for them to fend off the big boys. But luckily, Homo erectus had yet another, final trick up their sleeve. Or up their stick, maybe, whatever. You see, up until this point in history, fire was seen as just a crazy scary hot thing that would pop up from time to time. But after millions of years of evolution, we started noticing it could actually be pretty useful for warming up, cooking, lighting, literally everything you could ever need. And that included fighting off big scary monster who stood down to understand what fire is and runs away from it. And so Homo erectus could now much more effectively fight off the predators that were once their biggest nightmares, but unfortunately they didn't really understand how to control it yet, and it was also very hot, so, you know, let's not play with it too much. So by now the Homo species had explored most of Africa, the Middle East, and even parts of Asia. But then the Ice Age came along and said, hey, you seem to like this traveling thing, do you wanna maybe visit Europe? Okay, you can visit Europe now. And so they casually crossed to the shallower parts of the Mediterranean and started living there. Hey look, another Homo just popped up. They're called Neanderthals and are basically a buff, hairy, stumpy little human with an even bigger brain. They're also ugly as fuck. Now the main reason these guys are pretty special is that up until this point, hominins mostly lived in warm and comfy climates like woodlands grasslands or savannas. And even though they weren't the first ones to survive in colder temperatures, every other species merely adopted the cold, that they were born in it and molded by it, so naturally they needed to come up with better ways of staying warm, like decorating caves, building simple shelters, and even wearing animal hides as primal clothes. They also decided to max out their fire stats and started using it pretty consistently to harden weapons for more damage or even telling scary stories at night for more charisma. The only problem now was they just didn't know how to create it yet and mostly relied on maintaining naturally generated ones, cause striking flea was just a little too advanced apparently. Wait. So you're telling me they built shelters, discovered fashion, enchanted their tools with freaking fire aspect, and they didn't know how to spark fire? Yeah bro, thanks for just repeating everything I say. Guess they're just really fucking stupid and me I guess. Okay, maybe they couldn't start a fire, but they could still survive the harshest winters by sharing tool knowledge, their food, and even looking after the weakest tribe members. That sounds pretty smart to me. Okay, we get it, they were smart and also stupid, but how strong were they? Enough to beat the big boys yet? Good question. So they improve weapons and ambush tactics, have them hunt down some of the largest animals around, which is a massive W. But when it comes to predators, you still have cave bears, cave lions, hyenas, leopards, wolves, and like no matter how good your teamwork is, you still don't want to mess with them, cause you know, they're freaking scary and they're also probably thinking the exact same thing about us. So that's why everyone kinda avoided each other unless they were competing for important stuff like food or shelter. So yeah, as you can see, this evolution thing is very slow. I mean, it takes literally millions of years for you to... Wait, why is it? What the fuck? Some other humans just appeared in Eastern Africa with the usual. They were taller with less hair and had a slightly smaller brain for some reason. Wait, what? Smaller? I thought we... Shh. But shut up and listen. So at first humans were just like any other species, eating plants, running from bears and speaking sign language. I mean sure, maybe they learned how to turn sticks and stones to stones on sticks for better stats, but Neanderthals already knew that for a while, so it wasn't actually impressive. Okay, we get it, they were lame, so like what happens? You yourself came down to earth and gave them superpowers, what the hell? Close enough actually, so like all good things, it probably started with some dudes chilling in a cave somewhere. Yo bro, I'm feeling pretty stupid right now, and like it's not even the fact to only stay in PG-13 thanks to some freaking leaks, but our greatest invention is just a slightly above average sharpened stick. I mean, wouldn't it be crazy cool if it got smarter? Oh cool, I feel smart now, let's go here and there and kill everything everywhere and... Whoa. What the hell just happened? I thought you said they weren't special. Well, they weren't and now they were, it's not that hard. Okay, yeah, I get what happened, but like how? You can't just wish you were a bird and it take off, like, I don't know. Fuck me, guess you're smart now, sure, whatever. So yeah, we really don't know what happened, but what actually matters is that we could think much harder now, meaning tons of new tools and techniques, much better long-range weapons, and even some pretty impressive semi-permanent shelters in the fertile areas of Eastern Africa. What's that? Revolutionary beta by Neanderthals? Zoom in on that real quick. And this gun. Well, guess that's all the good food for the week. Now we gotta eat raw, like freaking cavemen. Bro, like wouldn't it be crazy cool if we could just find a way to make it ourselves? Yeah, sure man, keep dreaming. I'm actually serious. What if we... I don't know... threw baby Jared off a cliff? Do you think the Sangha would give us flamethrowers or something? Bro, you hit it like 10 babies already and literally nothing happened. But maybe Jared's special. Just shut up and let me work, man. I'm tired of your goofy owls trying to come up with the stupidest ideas. Screw you, man. I'm going to sleep. Thank God. I mean, bro, how would you possibly want to make fire? Like, damn! Well, would you look at that? Yo, have you seen Jared by any chance? What? So after millions of years of evolution, Neanderthals can now finally make fire, which was great news. But believe it or not, the human brain was actually about to cook up something even better. You see, up until this point in history, the most advanced communication technique was pretty much just Minecraft villager sounds. But then this cognitive revolution came along and they could now use much fancier words, like modern humans can. So all of this meant that we could plan better and trade and gather in large groups to do animal rituals and stuff, you know, the usual. Okay, yeah, they were much smarter, but like they still avoided predators, right? I mean, they didn't have guns or anything. Oh no, they were pretty much the boogeyman by now. Not only did they cause around 60% of the world's megafauna to go extinct, but also like 80% of the large predators all in just 50,000 years. In other words, I am become that destroyer of worlds. And just like that, the world was now completely taken over by humans, but after a while of just being the undisputed top dogs, they kinda got bored and said, okay, so we've been doing this chasing prey thing for a while now, and it's pretty fun, right? But like, why don't we try something new? I mean, we're big boys with big boy fancy brains now, so what else can we eat? And so they started farming, but the crops need more water, so they moved closer to rivers. But now everyone living there just his crops, which means the guy who owns the crops is more important now, cause he decides who lives and dies. So, yo, are you sure this is a good idea? I mean, this sounds pretty bad, man. Good question, not really, cause now there's a new problem. The crops are so important, bad guys come and island still, so now we build a wall around your village to keep bad guys out. But the new problem, so much food makes so much people that you don't have enough space, which means you go from small village to not small town to very not small city. But then turns out crops are pretty bad for you, so everyone's sick or dead now. But are also new and spawn much faster, so now okay, we get it, everything's a lot worse now, but like, is it really that bad? Cause I feel like people will be much happier now that they don't have to worry about predators and stuff, right? Well yeah, I mean sitting in big comfy houses with a full belly was definitely better than running from giant cats and literal dinosaurs, but there's a catch. You see, throughout the Stone Age, the biggest challenges we faced had always come from nature, and we got pretty good at beating those. Maybe a little too good, actually. Because it turns out all that new technology we now had, all those fancy hunting tools created for survival, they didn't only work on animals. And we were just about to find out the hard way. Because the beginning of the Bronze Age meant there was a new crisis just around the corner, and it would be much more dangerous than any natural predator could ever hope to be.